Hey, Ev. So back at it today. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to peel back the curtain and we are going to start talking about how it feels to work with me, all the growth markers we've been through together, and how you have learned to manage possibly my energy and tactics and strategies that we implement through huge growth markers. So Evelyn, if you had to summarize how it feels to work with a crazy entrepreneur, please feel free.
Okay, I'll start with the pros. Give you a little ego boost to start out with. I think that it always feels like a lot of ideas, which is exciting. That's a very exciting culture to be in, is when ideas are flowing. There's tons of ways we could go. This is what we got to do next. There's clarity and vision for sure. All great things. Then comes right underneath that a little layer of the chaos of you having the vision and it just not being reality yet. That's when it starts to feel like a flurry of communication, of, unpredictable requests from each and every side. I think that when we are most successful is when the ideas come from you slow enough that there's time for implementation and strategy within that. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. I mean, every growth marker feels like I want to solve incredibly fast. I mean, I think every owner would agree with that. Solving incredibly fast. And also wanting to see progress. I think the reason that things sometimes feel long is because ideas are actually floating inside of your headspace and you're solving for a really long time, actually, before you open up your mouth to actually implement the strategy. You may identify the problem with someone and be like, this is not good. This is not working good, and have a little bit of an episode, through that emotional ordeal. But through the solve, it is a 24/7 dreaming it, like can't sleep right until you find the fix.
Well,
and then,
I think that is something that you're really strong at. Many, I feel, of the designer business owners that we talk to can get stuck inside the problem, how it feels, what's going wrong. Like, not everyone, I don't think, has immediately that critical problem solving in bed at night thinking of the solution, because it can become so overwhelming to just be stuck in the problem itself.
Yeah. Well, at that point, you just need someone to help solve your stuff. For me, that was never an issue. That was never a problem for me. In fact, because I feel like I trust myself and I know the right moves, and I've proven that to myself. And in times where I've pulled in outside support for some of this strategy, it'll kind of always led me down the wrong path. Mm-hmm. So strategy wise, I feel the absolute strongest with, but I think this is when you feel the buzz, because always my buzz floods first to you.
First to me. Thank God. We don't want it flooding to anyone else. Jeez Louise.
I know. It's primarily first to you, although that is changing.
I will say that is changing. Yeah.
And a necessary
And now
change.
That's kind of a growth marker we're hitting right now. In terms
that's
of,
definitely where we are.
Not everyone can translate the buzz quite as well, either through time or whatever it is, translation. And I'd say, like, even within our own team, as we grow leadership and as we divide responsibilities and work on new projects, that flow, not all being able to come through me anymore, has been a sticking point for us.
Yeah, no, the division of leadership is definitely an addition to is really the necessary growth marker where we're at. And like anything that needs a lot of different things, is a lot of work and takes longer than any owner would like it to take.
Right.
And the reality is inside of that growth marker, for me personally, the challenge now is I'm a mom and I have kids and I have a husband, and it's not just what it was when I was 24 starting things out, where my life was 24/7 business. During those growth markers, like, you feel it inside of your day and the quantity of hours, but I loved what I was doing. It kind of like gave me a life. It gave me a social life. So I had so much more capacity. Didn't feel them as much as I feel them now when you have to balance multiple lanes. And I just had to have this conversation with, Mark today about what's going on. And honestly, I said, this is the first time I feel like I'm really going to struggle to show up to this podcast today. And I really did question canceling it because of just kind of, we're at the peak of a growth marker. And you have that strategy, and then you have all this fury, as Evelyn's saying, of communication. Mm-hmm. And then once you outline the strategy and you have a team of people executing, kind of the like anxiety, I'm going to just say anxiety.
You're like white knuckling it because you know exactly what it needs to look like or be or do. And you haven't seen it come to fruition yet. And now you're like, where are all my ideas right now? Because they're not just in me anymore. But like, and I think that can, cause a bit of a spiral, a bit of a fluster.
I go to the gym every single morning in my routine. Normally that balances me out. I did like an extra mile run today because I still couldn't get it burnt out of me, and I still couldn't get the anxiety burnt out of me after. Like, I don't run, I'm not even running, still couldn't get it out after that. And that's why I was like, oh my God, like I am really struggling.
But then I
today
also had to have that
up.
moment with you, like, Shay, wait a second, that was 3 business days ago that we spoke about that. Like, no shit, it's not done yet, or inflate. Like, that's the feeling you're talking about, where the speed, the reality, it's not all matching up to like your vision of what the solution is and what comes next.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. Here is the new growth marker that's emerging for me that I just worked on this like an hour before this podcast, which is really organizing the recurring systems that will equal a streamlined report in every single bucket, which is a lot of buckets, which makes sense. It started with me and you managing everything. Then we have operations that comes in that starts to support because it's not enough. And still that's not enough. We need 2 more people layered in there that we're bringing up from the inside up. And all of that needs to be really, really specific, programmed. And then the real challenge of it is the gray area overlaps. Like, for example, client onboarding success has the same protocol as a new hire in their first 3 months having oversight of their new clients. So there's this in between where 2 people are doing the same thing for 2 different types of people, but after 3 months, the hiring manager wouldn't oversee. And so there needs to be a streamlined way where new clients, assignments, and oversight of that client is very clear. And in a moment's notice, if I feel like I want to see it, boop, right there.
Well, and that's what it really comes down to, I think, and where some of this spiral is coming from right now. There's 2 things you really don't like. You don't like feeling like things are out of your control. And you don't like micromanaging. And until this step is in place where everything has a good solid report, or you know where everything lies, it either feels outside of your control or it feels like you have to micromanage to get it. And that sucks. Those are 2 things where it's 2 sides of the spectrum you hate and there's nothing in between right now. No wonder you're feeling like in a lot of your day because you're doing one of those 2 things like 90% of the time.
Totally nailed it. Hate those 2 things. But here's where I also said this morning, like, it's unfortunate. It's a necessary growth marker. Me and Mark aligned. I'm working overtime. For him, what success looks like is when the holidays hit and we go to Ireland, there is no work. There is no client conversation. There is nothing. If I can give him that, he's like, go work your overtime, give your company what you need. And we found our balance. Do I necessarily want to be doing that? No, honestly, I'm going to say these, as you just said, these are the things I hate. I hate doing these. And but you know what? I've got some camaraderie going between me and Logan. Logan's going to be pouring in overtime with me, work some weekends with me, and just get us where we need to be, with that goal being like, holidays come. See ya. If you're working with me, I will bury my phone, because that's just kind of the plan. And you know what, anyone listening, it's Q4. If you're feeling this way, then make Q4 your sprint right now. get with anyone on your team or even yourself or with us, and what does success look like for you to feel better going into 2026, you know, like
Can't even
whether
believe we're saying that. 2026
I know, it's crazy.
sounds gross.
I know, it's crazy. But whether you had a great year or not a great year, either way, both of those require a strategy to attack whether you're growing or fix why your year wasn't succeeding into 2026. Like, now is the absolute time, and I encourage you to make it the same goal. You know, we do need to balance out life. Like, take that holiday as a moment for you and your family. And if your business needs this, maybe you need to have the same conversation with your partner to just say, I need to do this, but I'm going to give you this amount of time where I'm going to close myself off and be present with you guys. But it's hard. You know, the juggle of all of it is the biggest challenge. I always say, like, I feel blessed to have started this so young in my 20s when I had no responsibility, genuinely.
Right.
No responsibilities. Like, it felt like you were an adult, but like I wasn't. You know, there was just simply pay
bills
the
to
rent
pay.
and a few
Yeah.
one hand of bills, you know, like one hand, like including employees, like insane, you know, like that's not the end goal, you know.
Right.
If everyone doesn't, staying there was also a massive hustle, you know. It's not like I would want to totally return there, but totally a blessing to have 6+ years
Right.
of building business like that. You know, I really give all the credit out there. If you're starting a business and you're a wife and or a mom, like, yes, you go. You know, this is a journey we are here for. We've been, speaking of fourth wall, we've been like talking about opening up like a forum, you know, of outreach for people to be able to like maybe email. I don't know how it works. Steven, the producer, will let us know how people would send in their challenges, you know, but you know, what's going on? What challenges are you experiencing? I would have to believe 9 times out of 10, you know, been there, done that, and can kind of tell you how I was feeling during that time or what I did to implement that issue. So how do they let us know if they think that's a good idea of CMO? As we're workshopping.
Subscribe, baby. Hit us up.
Subscribe and we'll figure it out. But we're going to get there. It's early days. You know, we're kind of buzzing. You know, the podcast is another lane of buzz because, you know, there's 2 sides of this podcast. Genuinely, there's, of course, we want everyone to know, you know, how how 40 Biz has become what it has become, because it's such a triumph journey, you know, and all of our services and what you need to succeed and how we can help you, you know, salesy to me. And those have been, as much as I love sales on a podcast, a little bit, I've been challenged by a little bit of that kind of structured conversational flow. But there's also this like real talk element that we really want to bring to the table, which is, there's all that. And we're going to talk about all that. Eventually, we're going to bring in other people.
Well, the real talk is the why and the how. Like, that's literally how each lesson was learned, how each, you know, service was put in place, blah, blah, blah. Probably more interesting and more relatable on your day to day when you put your headphones in is, you know, what it really took, how it really all came to be. And like, I think, bringing your challenges to someone else who's probably experienced that or very similar, and who is, like we said at the start of all this, just really good at that critical problem solving. Why not? I mean, that sounds like a benefit to me.
Yeah. Have any memorable, like, high peak growth markers where I was like highly, I don't know, like emotional, would be the right word. But like for me, I think emotional is like equals something a little bit different.
No, it's emotional. Your emotional looks different than the average female. But no, it's emotional. Like this morning was emotional. Not like, oh my God, I can't handle it. No, that's not you.
Yeah.
But that's just pure emotion. Like that's what it is.
On one. Yeah.
It's overflowing to your brain processes it differently. But like, no, you get emotional. Duh. Yeah. It's personal. Your business is like, you are the owner. It is your life. It is all tied up. Duh, it's personal. And so duh, it's emotional.
Yeah. I
I
feel like
think
I
more
get a little bit like
memorably-
hard. I'm like a little bit harder. Like I'm like on one, like that. Like I feel like I do
Yeah.
this to marketing. He's like, you don't speak to anyone like this. I'm like, really? Because I talk to
No,
Evelyn
you
like
do.
this like
Sometimes
all the time.
I
Like
honestly think sometimes you just have to like get it out
yeah,
to the
totally.
point that you're actually able to pull back and be like, okay, I didn't mean 100% of that. Probably 98,
Yeah.
but like I
Yeah.
didn't mean 100% of
Yeah.
that. I just really had to spill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I think, like you and me, we can totally have that convo because it's you and
Totally.
me, you and Mark. Like he picked you, that's your partner. You can't do that with every employee.
No.
Like that's not,
No.
which is why you don't
No.
have those critical
But-
combos and things like that. But yes, it is emotional.
That's
fair to
such
say.
a good point to bring up. And like I've also said this to Mark, right? It's like you have these kind of like top people in your life that get like all sides of you, all emotion, like all true self. Whereas you know where to reserve when you need to well, you should know how to reserve yourself, which is this whole other conversation, but we're kind of leading into, know what people you can do that to and know what people you can't do that to. I can, now that I'm thinking about it, I do usually identify when I'm peak emotional, especially when it comes to employees. And I will fire my emotions through you and or yourself. You've done it as well. It's pretty rare for you to get jostled, but that one client when both of us were like, nope, Samantha, like our emotions are way too tight.
Where I was like, I don't think they want to hear this from me personally.
Yeah. You know what? And that's just like the testament of the team. If you feel, if any of us, we have that emotional intelligence, feel too tied that we're speaking from emotion, or we come to the table like, are we speaking from emotion? Like, let's come get some perspective here between the three of us. And we have a really wide range perspective. I'll say that it's never like tied to one. Like sometimes you're on board with me. Sometimes you're not, and Samantha's on board with me. Like it really isn't a consistent dynamic whatsoever.
Thank goodness. I feel like normally
goodness.
The absolute best solution comes out not when one person says, should we do this? And the other two of us just say, yeah. But when it's like, should we do this? Oh, but what about this? Oh, but what about that? Yeah. So true. When we come to the middle, like that's when we always get our best result, I would say.
Yeah. But that's just to say, you're correctly right. Like ideas likely are my problem. I think it's a lot of people's problem. Some people way greater level where you're delaying your progress. And for me, that's what comes back to what I'm working on, all this kind of structure of agenda and reports. Because the other thing I learned is when I went to New York that week and I was away and I was really taking meetings on the go around family and things like that. And I didn't want to be long-winded. I didn't want to share new ideas. I just wanted to cut to the chase, and I didn't lead those meetings. I just let you and Samantha lead at those different points. And in certain meetings we have recurring that we don't even accomplish everything in an hour. We hit it in 45 minutes. It was like 44 minutes, I believe, when I looked. I'm like, okay, well, that just showcases that every single thing is way more efficient.
There was still at least like one long-winded Shayna-ism like in there,
Probably. Yeah.
So that really tells you.
Yeah. So in my idea and something you don't know is like, yeah, sure, we're going to still have like some meetings and things like that because we're going to need them. But what I really need to feed me is going to be in this like reporting based system that pulls me out of communication. So the high level things of what I need is there. And then the meeting times are the idea times, not for the day-to-day operations, but there's a glue that I'm marrying in there to help that in between of like idea, execution, oversight, completion, which
so that check-in is possible without that micromanagement like we talked about.
Right. I don't want to nag, I just want to calm myself down and be like, it's freaking Tuesday, like when your brain is kind of just like somewhat over it. Like, and I think that you do get there because again, you're in a long period of time where you're frustrated about problems. Hopefully you can create that strategy quickly. If it's not your super strength, you should just get with someone because it's just going to keep recycling. Nothing feels worse than a recycled problem. But then you have that strategy floating there for a long time. Then you finally release the strategy. You're still working on the strategy to clarify what actually needs to happen.
I feel like you release the idea. You don't even release the strategy yet. You like release the idea, which is the seed of the strategy most times.
this time it was very specific of like, this is how we're doing it. Get this meeting on my schedule, record, execute, go to Samantha. Samantha checks in until it's done and in the same templated format as everyone else and ready for my review. Then you come back. So the process this time was there, right? Because I've learned along the way how to control that. We also controlled maximum hours, 3 hours, right, per week. Every single week, I said consistently, it's a recurring to do for all these people working on all these different things. What I didn't do, and I need to learn for the next time, is have a reporting system, because now I delegated to cut me out throughout all the build.
Right.
So now I'm sitting here like, oh, like there's all these things. I don't know how to coach. I don't know what's appropriate to be like, this isn't working. We need to have a yellow conversation.
And that's
and where we're at in it
too. But like, you can't fully trust without something you can check in on. This is where it all comes back to. Like, it's not that you don't like trust the team, but if you can't see it, at some point it's just going to spiral you.
The coaching, and I trust the people getting things done, but the pace, progress, oversight in that direction, you should always step in and see kind of what's going on, so you can guide.
And how much it's aligned with your vision. If you haven't seen it and you can't check in, is also like,
also priorities, also ensuring that thing, if time is tight, then we are aligning priorities. And you know what? Those change. So like, there's so many instances, I'm sure you could be, I mean, if you really had time to think about it, when we're like, okay, you literally said this last week, and now we are just clarifying. It's fine, but this is the new priority. And that's because it's a reaction off of active clients and what's needed in their problems, which directly affects our operations as well. If a client, clients always come, well, we say team comes first, then clients, then foundation. That's not right. I'm not saying that that's right. It's not working right now for us, which is where the overtime is about to come in, because I don't feel good inside of it. It won't take a lot to get some reports just so I can see. Like, it's really like 8 different people working on foundational initiatives, kicking off with me, funneling through Samantha, and then returning back to me. And also for me, that ebb and flow of client work directly influences Samantha's operations.
Well, and so that's all 3 of us, that is just the reality of it, is as all of us have the ebb and flow of the client facing meetings and or execution. And then the time that trickles down to lead the team and do those things, our ebb and flow isn't something we have totally nailed down yet.
But as the leader, if there's that spreadsheet and I can directly have that conversation, I'm underwater, then I can take every meeting in this company. Every single meeting I could take in this company. I mean, we challenge that for I know marketing strategy. You wouldn't want me to freaking do your brand voice, the nitty gritty of that. No, thank you. But we could clarify it, and especially when you give me a template when you were out maternity, really, I could take any meeting. So as that leader, having a control of knowing what's going on, where things are at, what's on your all of your other leaders' plates in moments of growth, so that you can step in and support someone to be like, okay, this client is needing a lot more attention this week. It's going to take over this amount of time that you were going to put into the foundation. You know what? I'll take this meeting with Jaden. I'll take this meeting over here with Lauren or whatever, and extend my working hours.
Right. And I think that that's a point of improvement. I'd say that I've seen you go through too. Like, you're a really good leader, but I wouldn't say you're a great manager, like outlining those priorities. No, because you just word vomit everything that needs done. And for the person that doesn't know you as well as I do, and even sometimes me, there was not an order of priority there, and I'm going to work through it the way that I see fit or the way that they see fit. And if that's not aligned and that didn't come top down, here we are again, either thinking like, why did they do it this way? Or like, where the heck is this other thing that I care about? And both of those feel terrible for you and the person working under you.
Reports. And that's where I'm saying, like, or having a vessel and leaders to be like, this is your spot on the report and this is what happens on a consistent basis, so that I can position or create that shared language, whether it's color coding or whatever it is, or vice versa. Slow down, client, whatever the situation is. So I, as a leader, can strategize around someone putting their hand up and being like, I have all this other stuff going on. Right. And if you're saying the foundational work is the lesser of priority over the team and over the clients, then of course that's naturally going to be the first thing to be cut. But I need a system for someone to put their hand up and say, this ain't happening this week because of new priorities that emerged. And I want to be in that seat being like, yep, I'm in control to step in and make that progress happen, or have the understanding, nope, it's all good. I understand that now that's pushed back by a week, or I'm not going to see see progress till the following week, or whatever the case may be.
I just had a client tell me yesterday, actually, and saying that he was really happy with one of his assistants. Like, the main thing that he was so happy with about the way that she worked is that she always gave a, yes, I can do this, and you can expect to see it by. Like, I actually can't get to that today, but you'll for sure have it from me by. It's like, just that feels so good. I just have trust, and she's never dropped that before. Like, that's like sometimes all it takes is that realistic expectation. And it's hard I would say it's hardest for the busiest people to give, but those are the people that have to set that expectation the most.
It's also a new thing I'm doing too, is if I have to read a contract before a contract review meeting. I am literally scheduling the review of that contract on my calendar like a meeting. Right. Non-negotiable. It's there. This is when we do that. And for me, I always do it the day of the meeting. So it's kind of fresh, top of mind, and I have all my comments there. It doesn't necessarily have to be a necessary thing. Right. But scheduling and creating some type of systemized routine, at least for me, is what is getting me through this period as well. And I think that's like super important. Even on all this, we have recurring meetings inside the company that, while we might not complete everything we want to in those calls, like, there is still the routine of overview, client check-in, metrics, report and tracking. What I'm like, all the current day-to-day stuff is in that routine. Now we're layering in an additional routine of foundational reports, what we're working on as a company, so that I can check in on the status of things as well. So that's going to be a new routine, kind of have a morning routine of fitness to kind of set the tone for my day. So I think as much as hope, maybe you still don't feel a difference. Like, I never used to be because of breaking my pelvis, I never really could do that much fitness. So I don't think actually during business that, from when you've been working with me, yes, I've had a life of fitness and getting into that, but in the business, I'm wondering if you have felt any shifts from my mentality or my energy or how I show up at all between when we've been growing and I didn't have this routine.
I think it's your level of confidence that speaks very loudly during this period. You still have your flurries, if that's what we're going to call them, and things. I would say because I also know you on the personal level, it's just not just business for us. Personally and emotionally, so much growth. I don't only attribute that to fitness whatsoever. But yes, I can feel that in our relationship and how we talk about both business and life. But I would say especially that confidence level is something that I think also affects your overall day, how you carry yourself, how you run yourself, how you think of success. I've felt that reflect for sure. Yeah.
I feel like my mentality is just different, the level of procrastination. Or when I would start my day, or when you're working at home, or if you don't have to leave your home for an appointment, or you don't have a meeting, I felt like my morning routine was very loose. If I didn't have that meeting,
oh my God. Well, okay.
Later,
going back to when 40 Biz was new and you were still mostly in Shayna Rose Interiors, your daily routine.
Yeah.
Me up
right me up so I'm let's really think about it, because there was no boundaries and routine
I think
to my
fitness
day
has played a part in that, but that's just such a different lifetime almost in terms of all the parts of your routine and how it.
But not really.
I don't only
you know?
attribute it to that whatsoever.
It doesn't put fitness inside of any routine. I think fitness does balance out like mood, like
that's what I said
times.
on the personal side for sure.
Yeah, but this has been like the biggest topic of debate where like they're one and the same. How I feel personally carries into my business, how I feel in the business, everything.
Okay, so you just wanted me to say yes, I feel a difference. That's what like.
Well, no, I don't want you to say what I want you to say. Like I was just saying that, like for you, that category. I can't remember what else we were talking about. Oh, we were talking about this possible new community that we're building and how you felt it was a different business, and I felt like they were not. It was just kind of a service, kind of surrounding the nucleus, funneling into like the main business. I don't even know if that makes sense for anyone listening, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. No,
we'll go there. We'll go there.
As an owner, and I don't know, maybe this is different, right? I don't know if you maybe I'm wrong, carry this business throughout the entirety of your day, thinking through it in the shower, dreaming about it at night, wake up like this morning at 6 a.m. I'm like on the toilet with the laptop, going through things. I don't know, maybe,
right.
Maybe, but for me, it's constant. Right. And how mentally I feel is the same thing as the business. Like it's just all life embodies all. It's not this isolated, like this is my job. Right. This is my fitness routine. This is this. It's all one amoeba to me. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
So that's why I I feel strongly about saying that fitness routine to me established this morning routine that
definitely trickles
created structure
your entire day to more success and productivity for sure.
Structure.
I thought more so the question of does it affect the flurries? No, because you're an ideal person. And that's always going to come.
No, still flurries, but the flurries are structured in the sense that inside of working days, yes, at night there are some pockets of flurries. Typically that only happens if I've got a client texting me at night. Yeah. That's number one. And copying and pasting and what's going on to just make sure, because I've already opened the text. That's why I hate texts. It's very easy to miss that text because it's not like you can mark it unread. So transferring that over, or when I've really clarified my strategy, like we talked about the 6 paper plates.
Right.
But I have no anticipation that anyone's reading that until the morning. It's just more so me getting ahead of the next day. But I do remember in the beginning, I don't know if you deleted them, but 80,000 emails.
Oh, yeah.
All day.
Right. And because your day was your day, you didn't have the routine of fitness. You didn't have your family that you needed to give dedicated time to, there would be days where I'd be finally wrapping up and then at 6 p.m. you're like, okay, let's talk about, I'm like, you.
Well, that's because I get off an install, right? So, or finish an install, and then I'm switching gears into another thought process during the day. So, I guess time has passed. Hopefully, maybe it doesn't feel so different for you, but for me, I feel different. For me, I feel very structured. That's what matters.
And maybe that's what comes across to me is that confidence. Maybe that's that outward representation of what you're saying is that clarity and system. Whatever. Yeah. I think you're absolutely killing it. So keep going.
No, but I just think it's creation of that structure. And when things aren't feeling in control, I just added to my structure. Now Logan is going to be on my schedule at 3:30 every single day and is blocked thereafter to execute so I can feel the control I want to feel. So it's also, again, problem this morning. I've got a 2-page outline. I've made 2 phone calls. I funneled it through you first. Then I spoke to Logan. We've already got meetings on the schedule and we've already got a strategy in place. And I already feel better, and thankfully, and this is a lesson for myself that I'm going to take is I'm going to block. Now I have blocked more company time because the true lesson out of this is how much I feel better to just shut everyone else out and work on a document to solve the problem and outline all of my thoughts so I can clearly delegate. Because as you said, Evelyn, I'm a big delegator to kind of verbally vomit everything. But if I feel like I'm not happy with the pace, then that means it's on me as a leader to speed things up by creating that documentation.
Right.
Vesseling through all of the minutia of the execution for the actual reports, the actual full detailed breakdown, but the bullet points of absolutely everything are on there. Right. And it's now I've created the template and the structure. And it really is a big point the finger moment, because I did, delegate it out, but I'm not, just because I'm not happy with the pace or don't feel in control, I'm not going to be on one for you and Samantha and being like, it's not enough, where is this? I don't understand. Where's the progress? And fire. No, don't even want to ask. I'm going to do the work and be like, okay, I've got us here. I'm bringing in extra support. I am lead delegating because there's just simply too much right now, so that you guys can focus on internal day-to-day success.
But I think in a past growth marker, before there was as much trust, as much history, that is how it would. What the heck? Where is it? When you really trust your team around you, it's so much easier to be like, okay, something is not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have I ever been like that? I feel like, yes, there are people out there like that, but maybe to you. I don't know about to anyone else.
Yeah.
But
no, probably not to anyone else. Yeah. We've gotten to that point before for sure. We've had those combos.
Well, I feel like we only had one combo ever, and it was really just in a transition of you getting married, and exciting lifetimes, and just rebalancing what that looks like. And when, same thing I did with Logan, who's getting married. I feel like there are certain pockets in life that also as a leader, you need to know what's going on with your people.
For sure.
You need to know, because they might not be able to give you everything you want them to give you because of their life, and you have to care about them if you want them to stay with you, and I feel like that was a moment of realignment for what was happening in your life and what I needed from you and what those boundaries are. I don't feel like I've ever been on your about a deadline or anything. I don't feel like that's me
just
at all. General. I might say right now to you, I'm feeling out of control. The progress doesn't feel good. And you're really it's only been 3 days, realigning. So maybe you hear me say it, but I would never, I feel like I always lead from the lens of I know, obviously you don't have enough time.
With me personally? Yeah.
I don't know. Just in general as a
just
leader.
In general.
I mean, I'm a feisty leader.
No, I don't think, feisty I see as a good adjective, but I don't think in the way that you mean it, no. But let's go back to Pete or Jane. There have been what the hell, where the hell is it moments when you don't have the trust. Okay. Come on. Do I think you're feisty? Yes. Okay. And you should be.
That is
different.
That's different.
Yeah.
With where the seating.
We just had a conversation, and I don't want to say this name, but literally this week of where the hell is it? Slow them the down. What? Yeah. Yes. Come on.
I will say,
be honest.
If you are a third, we don't really hire third parties anymore.
It's a difference in the level of trust. I feel as though this is in alignment with my point, but maybe I didn't say it.
I think where so I would say this, our internal staff and what I control, I don't think I'm very reactive of. I think I'm very level-headed, reasonable. I can see it. Where you're talking about is when we hire a third party who's supposed to have the strategy, who's supposed to have the operations, sets the tone of the expectations through their own mouth and their own deliverables of what they show, and then is okay, well, where is it? What's going on? And so it's funny, I'm a cop-out. Internally, if I feel like things aren't going well, I usually pass them to you, Evan. I'm okay. This is how I'm seeing. Can you go investigate? Da, 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 da. Or even if I'm working with them, I'm not reactive. But if I'm paying top dollar,
totally. Steven, if you had sucked,
I've fired high levels in 2 weeks. I am messing. I am playing games. That's so funny though. That is where I will go off on one. I mean, I made a grown man cry.
Right.
And he shut down his business. I'm not saying that was my fault, but he should have just. you know,
Right.
yes,
So,
that
yes,
was,
Shayna,
I will lose
I
it.
think you're feisty. Okay, shall we
fine.
end on
If
that
I'm
note at
paying you
47 minutes?
a high, and I think this is the same to go for clients hiring designers. You know, you're paying that high hourly rate. You got to match what you're saying. You can't go sell this and do that. You know, if you told them that they're getting a weekly report summarizing what's going on and where their retainer is at or balance or whatever the case may be, you have to show up and do that. You know,
I think the exact same could be said for 40 Biz. We're not like on Fiverr hourly rates. We sell our experienced team, our level of hiring and training and management. And that's where we, I think, set ourselves apart in that accountability. When we don't feel like we deliver on that, like we take that on. And that is so rare in this world.
I just the level of care, you know, like sometimes I'm like, I genuinely just care so much. But when hiring third parties, you know, for how many people we've recycled and been, I am genuinely shocked how many times we've been sold a huge thing.
Did and then cheers together when taking one, and we said, even if they deliver half what they promised us, this is going to be great. Let's cheers to that. How many months later was that?
$20,000. 3 months later, 0 ROI,
and a whole shit ton of headaches
promises
to go with it.
Went backwards, honestly.
Shut down our different the crooks.
That's
we'll talk to you about all our crooks on a different day.
Crooks, man, absolute crooks. You know what happens is, I think this is the problem, not problem, but this is just what happens in business. There are so many accidental business owners who have a really strong superpower, you know?
Yeah.
And once they learn that superpower and they're making money for someone else, if they have an entrepreneurial mindset, they'll want to do that for themselves. And they'll go and they'll kill it. And the problem becomes once they have to delegate beyond themselves. Because in this case study that we're talking about with this marketing company and this $20,000, do I think the owner himself would have succeeded in what he sold us if he himself did every single aspect of the strategy, actually did what he sold? No, because initially he told us he was going to come, he was going to shadow, he was going to listen in, he was going to be the one taking the initial sales calls, he was going to carve it out until it was right. And then once we were making money, then he was going to plug in a team. What happened was, and through my assumption is, he sold and his sales process was very airtight, like data, numbers, like you said, we cheers. We're like, even if he does a fraction of this, we're going to have a great year. Amazing. He probably sold. Definitely didn't follow the strategy. He plugged someone in right away. So that just shows you that he either hit capacity or just didn't care. Actually, we saw on his social media, he was like traveling around the world with his family.
That's where I'm like, I don't think he would have succeeded even if it was him individually.
Like, took the money.
I just don't think so.
Yeah. Took the money, didn't care, took no accountability that what he told us he was going to do was not at all what he did. And you're right. I looked him in the eye and I called him, leaned into this mofo. And yes, made him cry. And we came to find out later he works in corporate and he closed his business down. And I didn't mean to, but you know, I was just like, this is what you need to do. You know, I feel like they turn into coaching calls, which is probably what makes them the harder ones, when I'm like, now that I know you're inside, like this is terrible, you know, and this is what you need to be doing, you know, and we did just do that with someone else, but
feisty.
You know, feisty a little bit, but not on the internal.
No. I'm not speaking down to your leadership of our team at all. I think it's we have a thriving
control
team.
It.
Yes,
it flips me out.
Yeah,
and then it's
either that or the micromanage. Here we are back to the beginning of the conversation, 50 minutes in, and we'll leave you with that, folks.
But anyway, I think that kind of wraps us up.
Does that give you a peek into the mind of Shayna Rose?
For a tiny little peek.
Welcome.
We didn't even get into our own stuff that we're working on, but I'm sure we'll get there next and talk about, you know, some new ideas I have, as Evelyn said, which are chronic, and how she so kindly shuts them down sometimes.
You don't think I'm feisty?
Yeah, talk about me feisty. Jesus, I think the spiciest one on this team is the one calling me out. But
Do you
we
feel
love
I called
it.
you out? I love
and
you
we
and I
lean on
respect
it.
you. And I think you're
You
amazing
need
at
that.
all that you do.
I think you're the most intellectual spice you can give, and that's why we send you in for the criticals. You know, like, I'm just gonna, it's like, if you want someone who can really just outsmart someone into like really, I'm not gonna say make you feel silly. I don't want to say, but you have the ability to choose words that really can hit home. And certain clients know this about you now and are like, yeah, let's just send Evelyn and have that conversation.
Oh, man.
No,
Well,
but I love you for
Black
it. I
and white
love you
cookie,
for it.
baby. Couldn't
That's
do
it.
it without you.
Yeah, I'll flip out on the high paid nugs and you can handle the
I'll
intelligent
take it, baby.
criticals with our internal staff and team.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. Well, until next time.
Until next time.
As we wrap up today's episode, we hope you're feeling seen and supported in the real, behind-the-scenes work of building your business. Remember, it's normal to feel the chaos, the pressure, and the growing pains. What matters is how you keep showing up, learning, and leading through all of it.
No matter where you are, whether you're navigating a big growth spurt, juggling team dynamics, or just trying to find a little more balance, know that you are not alone. We're right there with you.
And if you want more honest conversations, resources, and practical tips to help you lead with confidence, make sure you join our email list at fordesignerbusiness.com/subscribe.
And if you're looking for support, whether it's talking strategy, navigating a tough spot, or simply getting a bit of encouragement, we'd love to talk to you. You can schedule a free call at fordesignerbusiness.com or check the show notes for a direct link.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please help us reach more designers just like you by rating, reviewing, and subscribing wherever you listen.
And remember, we're here cheering you on as you build the business and the life that you deserve. Until next time, keep designing and keep dreaming.